because I'm in the process of putting together a course right now. It's a 21-day course called the Bitcoin Journey. It's for people who are just getting into Bitcoin. So we walk them through how to buy, how to send, receive, store, and all the best practices, lessons, tips, everything you need. But within that, I'm also doing this little section at the start. Instead of trying to explain Bitcoin to everybody, I figured I'd kind of narrow it into 5 or 6 different demographics. So there's Bitcoin for investors, Bitcoin for business owners, Bitcoin for farmers, and this one was Bitcoin for real estate investors. And so I brought up this chart that we talked about last week, comparing the average homes to the price of Bitcoin, just to kind of show a different side of things here, because we're so used to seeing the prices, I shouldn't say value, the prices of our homes going up. And we think that's a good thing. We think that the price of our house has gone up, and so, it's more valuable. But is that the case? It's not. And so I'm going to bring it up again, but why I wanted to talk about this is because yesterday during this course that I was filming, I kind of went further than I did on the live show, because it's hard to do things live. You don't really think like you normally would. So I actually went and put in I'll just do it on the screen here for you instead of trying to explain it. So just to kind of catch everybody up with this row here is the average home price in Canada for the last 14 years. So we went from $340,000 Canadian to 2024, $694,000. That's the average price of a home in Canada. It's nuts. But that's not the point here. What I looked at here in the show yesterday was 2013 and 2023, over a 10-year time frame. I think people usually can resonate more with clean numbers and a decade. So we did 10 years. So what we did there is I went to 2033. I said that I expect the prices of homes by 2033 to be higher. Even though I'm not quite convinced that that's the case, I think that we're kind of at a point now with the interest rates. The prices of homes have been running up for the last 15 years quite steadily. But I think that was all happening during a 0% interest rate time frame. Now we're in a 4, 5, 6% interest rate environment. And so I think that should cool down the housing market quite significantly over this next decade. But we do also have to factor in the inflation. So the price of the homes, we can still expect to go up. The value that I put on, or the price that I put on this 10 years down the line, was $1.5 million. I do think that that's going to be fairly high. I don't think the average price will get to 1.5 million. I certainly hope it doesn't. But that's kind of where I think that's a reasonable prediction to make. 10 years from now, the average price could be 1.5 million Bitcoin. So then I looked at the change here over the last 10 years. And so again, this is live, so it's not that easy to do live. But what we're going to do is I looked at 13 and 23. So I chose 23 because this was actually a down year in Bitcoin. So you can see here, 2022, the price of Bitcoin was 54,000. It dropped to 23,000 and is back up to 62,000 Canadian. So I took the 2023 number and also ignored these first 3 years here because it was kind of a crapshoot. I mean, one home in Canada cost you 4.8 million Bitcoin in 2010. So I skipped those 3 and I went to this one, 2013. So I'm going to take the price from 2023. I'm going to divide it by the price in 2013 to see how much it's gone up since then. So 1,600 times in 10 years, from 13 to 23. So if we expect the same to happen over the next 10 years here, and I'm actually much more confident than it will, which is surprising, but we've talked about this, kind of where we're at in the S-curve, the technology S-curve, is that we're only at about 1% of people on Earth who have Bitcoin right now. So all of this happened, this movement from $14 to $23,000 and now $62,000. But that movement was only 1% of the population. And so Bitcoin is growing every day. The demand is growing. The network is growing stronger. More and more people are getting into Bitcoin, plus the ETFs, the halving. There's just so much happening right now. And we still have the 99% of people left to get into Bitcoin. So that's why I think that not only will we hit another 1,600 times, I think it'll actually be higher than that. So let's take now what it's gone up for the last 10 years and try to predict that for the next 10 years. So we're going to take the 23,000 and we're going to times it by the 1,600. So we get up. And when I did this live, or not live, but when I was recording this yesterday, I never even did this before filming the video. So that was a pretty big shock to me, that number there. Oh, that number is 37,000 or $37,818,000 for one Bitcoin. And so with that in mind, even at the price of 1.5 million for a home, average price, we're going to guess that Bitcoin's going to be 37 million at that time. So the price of one home in Canada will cost you 0.04 of a Bitcoin. And that's what we're demonstrating here. Not valuing things in Canadian dollars anymore, but instead in terms of Bitcoin. So just to recap that, 2010, you could have purchased one home in Canada for 4.8 million Bitcoin. And then it drops down to only 946,000 Bitcoin. And the trend here is that it keeps going down. Everything will continue to fall in comparison to Bitcoin. But this was a real shocker to me, that 0.04 of a Bitcoin could get you a house, even valued at 1.5 million 10 years from now. So these are just predictions. This is just kind of based on the history, based on what I expect to happen logically, and I think very conservatively based on the numbers that we used in this. So that was pretty crazy. And I don't know why I was so thrown off by it, because I say all the time that I think that Bitcoin over time will get to 1 sat equals $1, which means that the price of Bitcoin at that time would be $100 million. But it's still different to see it actually, and to see the 37 million per Bitcoin and then 0.04 of a Bitcoin to be able to buy a $1.5 million house. Very interesting. So I wanted to bring that up because, like I said,